With me today is Oliver Nutt, Vice President of Marketing and External Communications for GDIT. Thanks so much for joining me today, Oliver.
Thanks for having me today, Amanda. Appreciate it.
Of course. So, Oliver, I know you spearheaded a rebrand, accelerated digital strategy while navigating a global pandemic, and even supported company-wide initiatives that ultimately helped customers respond to the impacts of the pandemic, and of course, much more, I'm sure. So we're really pleased to have you here today to talk employer branding and leadership. My first question for you is, considering General Dynamics acquired CSRA back in 2018 and you rebranded GDIT in early 2019, can you share the rationale for this rebrand?
Yeah, sure. So the rebrand, it was a big moment for General Dynamics. We'd, of course, made this major multi-billion-dollar acquisition of CSRA, and really the decision to rebrand what was the legacy GDIT company was really about changing or presenting where the business was going in the future. Part of that process, we divested about $1 billion worth of our business, which was no longer a strategic priority for us. We were focusing on new technology areas like cloud, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity. So we wanted to create this brand which more aligned to where the business was going, and of course, absolutely where our president, Amy Gilliland, where her vision for this new organization. It was a transformational acquisition, and by that I mean there were two equal-sized companies coming together. So we also wanted to make sure that we created this brand, something new and a new identity or a refreshed identity, I should say, for the company moving forward, that all employees could get behind and leave, if you like, their legacy brands behind them. So it was really a starting point of a new beginning, if you like, for the GDIT company.
That's wonderful. So how do you measure your brand performance, and have you seen any trends since the rebrand?
There's lots of different ways we measure our brand. I look at some of the short-term or day-to-day types of measurements we do. So we're looking at social media sentiment. We're looking at things like our digital metrics, whether that's our website visits. We're looking at our performance from bringing talent into the organization. We're looking at those types of metrics, which are all good indicators of how our brand is performing. In addition to that, we also look at things like conducting research studies at different times through the year, and they're giving us much more deeper insights into whether we're shifting perception of our brand and what people really think about the brand that we're putting out there. So they're just some of the ways that we're measuring the brand. And of course, conversations are really important. So I actually like to talk to people in the business. We've just completed our internship program for the year, and having conversations with our interns and getting their perspective on what they think about their experience when they were looking at our website, when their experience in the company, and whether the brand is resonating with them is also really important. And then the second part of your question around trends, we've seen a really positive shift in brand perception over the last few years of GDIT, and I think that's representative of the way that the company has changed. And what we've seen is a really big shift in brand familiarity. So that is how well known GDIT name is in the market. So we've seen significant increases, especially in the last 12 months, of about 12 to 14%, but also in favorability, and brand favorability is really important. So that is more around how people feel about the brand, what attributes are resonating with them. So, is a brand known for innovation, or is it known for other types of attributes? So really make shifts as well in that area has been really important, and it's been very positive to see those moves.
Wonderful. And we know M&A is, of course, very prevalent in the government contracting industry. So what are a couple lessons you've learned about bringing separate brands together under one umbrella?
I'll start with just the importance of internal communications. M&A activity is an exciting time for employees, but it also can be a concerning time for employees as well. And there's a lot of change happening quite often in every part of the business. So really focusing on that regular cadence of communications, keeping employees updated on what's happening and the changes being made and being very transparent, I think is really, really important. And there is a high risk period where employees, if they're concerned about what's happening in the business, there's a risk of them leaving the company and going elsewhere. And when there's such a shortage of talent, you don't want that to happen. So really focusing on internal communications is absolutely fundamental. I think the second point I'd make on this topic is that every merger and acquisition is different. You're acquiring a company or merging with a company for a different reason. They've got different cultures. So you really need to look at how you build a strategy that's really intentional around the business that's being acquired, and making sure you're not, from a marketing standpoint, you're making sure that you're really looking carefully at how you leverage that brand that you've acquired or that you're integrating. That's part of the value of the company that you've bought. So I think going through for us, when we went through the process with CSRA, we were very focused on learning about where CSRA's strengths were from a brand point of view. We looked at where GDIT's strengths were from a brand perspective, and really made sure that when we refreshed our overall GDIT brand, that we were leveraging the best of both companies. So I think they're really some of the key things to focus on from a marketing and communication perspective.
So that makes sense. And so what are some of the ways you've managed your brand differently in the different markets that GDIT serves?
Yes, we've got a very broad portfolio of customer sets, of capabilities. And I think the golden rule is to start with your audience. Whether you're looking at attracting talent, whether you're looking, in our case, engaging, say, the health market or the defense market, and really starting with the audience and building your strategy around them versus what they're expecting and the experience you want to deliver them from the brand. And I think that's especially important when you've got a large business with very diverse offerings and products and capabilities.
So as we've been talking about, GDIT is a large technology consulting firm with a broad portfolio of capabilities. So what are some of the challenges with managing a brand of this scale?
It is a significant challenge for us. We've got 4,000 contracts. Our teams are doing just, absolutely incredible work across various different markets, from healthcare to defense to the intel community, and then very broad sets of capabilities to take to market, like cloud, cyber, artificial intelligence, and so on. So I go back to how can we best tell the stories of the work that our teams are doing on a day-to-day basis. And for example, we've just recently launched 2 of the fastest supercomputers in the world, ranked in the top 50 fastest actually in the world. So and what those supercomputers are doing, they're actually helping the government with weather forecasting and models. So it's telling that story around, people think about looking at their app and the weather, but not actually thinking about what's happening behind the scenes to give everybody that weather instantaneously on their mobile device, and it being accurate. So it's establishing those stories within the company and figuring out how we can tell them to a broader audience. And I think that helps, of course, from explaining what we do as a company, but from a talent point of view, just showing how exciting some of the work is that our teams are doing across this very broad portfolio.
Right. And how does this method or strategy work under the broader General Dynamics umbrella?
Yeah, so there is a level of brand complexity with a company of our size. So GDIT is one of 10 business units that sits under the General Dynamics umbrella. So we've got one end of the spectrum, we've got the Gulfstream business jet organization, and then you've got a huge technology business. So very different brands. Where I'm really fortunate, and that's really with the General Dynamics business model, is I'm very empowered to run the GDIT brand, how we need to run and manage that brand for our business. Yet we also benefit, of course, from this overall brand identity of General Dynamics and everything it does across these very diverse business units. So I actually see it as a huge positive for us, where we can move very, very quickly for a Fortune 100 brand, and yet we can also obviously leverage a lot of what we're doing across the wider company as well.